Hey y'all, welcome back. Um, would love to just open up the floor for folks to just share some of what they talked about in this space, whole group. Because we're not going to share it with our leaders yet, because we're going to bring it to them in coaching. So anybody who wants to dive in, go ahead.
I'll go. I talked about how Delgado has started off this school year thinking that he lives in a silo, and we spent a lot of time coaching up people around him and training them to do different tasks so that he could delegate things to them, and he is not the only person in his realm now. And so I want him to remember going into next year, there are so many people around you that you have trained to do this work. Rely on them and continue to ask them to do the work. Continue to ask them to do things and delegate things to them. You don't have to do it all, and you shouldn't be doing it all if you are going to continue to build.
Yeah, huge. Sounds very much like one of my coachees, Dennis. In our recent coaching session, he goes, and guess what? This is not something Dennis is going to do. And I was like, my work, my work here is done. Okay, very good.
I love when people talk in third person.
Yeah.
I'll go. I have Anne from Central Falls, and one of the things we talk about a lot in our sessions is sphere of influence. And she will
Mm,
often say, "Oh, I'm not in charge of anyone instructionally." But she has a superintendent, she has a chief academic officer, she has everybody on her team, and she's brilliant and she has all the answers and she knows exactly what needs to happen instructionally. So I want to remind her of the power of her influence and that someone is waiting in that district to take the reins, and why not her? She can do it.
yeah.
I love that. Oh, go.
Oh, go ahead, Sense.
I was just gonna say Ashley, I talked about is so great at so many things, but I think the thing I want to uplift for her that I don't think she always sees in herself is how flexible she is when she gets new info, and how much she can adapt to change things. And I think she has a lot of trust from her teachers as a result of that. And I want her to start externalizing that for her leaders because I think she takes for granted that she does that. And I think the next phase for her is to like teach other people how to do that. But it's a real superpower.
That's awesome. P.
Thank
Miller.
I get to coach Libby Bryan from DSST, and she is in the CAO role and has a lot of folks both in this current cohort and the next cohort. And so she manages a team of directors that are like in schools every day, all over the place. And they've really leaned into TLC which is like the network team orientation and reorientation. And then they've really, really latched on into installing RPS in all of these spaces. And so she and I were talking a little bit about like what feels so cool and critical that has shifted this team a year ago from the installation of all of these systems. And like, I know many of us can think about this, like a year, like, in year two, all of us like all of the things that then still feel hard and why it is actually like recommitting to the foundations and both like the mindsets along with structures like RPS, because otherwise I think sometimes the floor can fall out from you and it feels like, oh, I don't have these systems in place or we need a different system. And I actually think sometimes that like second year or second phase can even be harder because it's like less of the new and shiny. And so I was just thinking in general about like, how do you go back to leveraging your orientation and reorientation? How do you make it okay for your team to say, like, we're sticking to these commitments? How do you like, because so much of those strengths exist, you don't have to do new. You get to like strengthen and level up like the older structures, which matters.
It's huge. Yeah, that year two being harder than year one is real.
I think I'll share about Julie. I think one of the things that I really want to just like remind her of is just her like courage, if you will, around just like attacking a new system and data stream for her network, and really using it to be really thoughtful and drive good action for her work and for her team. And I think like they built a whole new intervention system and a whole new data stream, and have been worked really hard on responding to that data in a thoughtful way. And I think what I want to help her remember, or like put that back in front of her, and just like reinforce that as a real strength. And then I think the like next level up is similar to what Emma, what you were saying around like year two is, and how do you like funnel in some of the like radical problem solving, bringing people along with you through like good change teamwork to really take it to the next level. And so helping her figure out how to do that as she goes into next year and into her second year in the role. So yeah.
Thanks, y'all. Really cool. Like we don't often in coach community get an opportunity to have this much like whole group share and to be able to really hear. I think so many things are special about it, but like this year with one coachee, it's just so clear how much you all have intimately gotten to know these leaders and really leveraged your relationship and what you know about them to both support them now, but be so thoughtful about what they need. And so really appreciate you all putting that in the space, because it's just a reminder of the power of this work, and the work that you all are doing and the connection to the outcomes the cohort is getting, like we saw in the staff survey. So thank you for sharing that with us as we get ready to dive into today. So our objectives, we are going to get ready to dive into a really cool practice. Ben and I are really pumped about this. It's new, it's fresh, it's something we haven't done before, and we're excited to really see what comes of it. And so you're going to have a chance to apply the 5 habits really flexibly, but also to identify a coaching move that is uniquely yours. So be on the edge of your seats, more to come in a moment. And then we'll dive into planning for progress. So we know we're closing out with folks this month, so we'll do some data cleanup because we do need to get some data on goals and things all in the right places. And we will talk about how to plan for closing out with our people in this next month. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Ben to launch us into practice. And I am going to quickly go off camera and reappear inside my apartment. So Ben, I'm going to turn it over to you and I will be right back.
Great, thank you. Wonderful to see you all today, as always. Yes, we're very excited about this one. Bear with us, it's going to be a little unusual. I'm not going to say too much more about that. You are going to, somebody actually please boldly unmute and read the do now instructions for today out loud to us, please.
Imagine responding to your coachees doing each of the following in response to preparing their success story. Scenario 1, your coachee is approximately 70% off their goals and lightly protests the success story requirement. What am I supposed to write about? There are no real wins. Scenario 2, your coachee claims everything's rosy when it's not. They dodge reflection, avoid gaps in data, generally seem unwilling to look at what's driving their results. It was a pretty good year, and it's because we have a great team.
Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do is to dive in immediately into practice. So you'll be with a partner. You will pick whose first name is alphabetically first. That person will be the coach. You will give that person a little bit of context to allow for scenario 1 to be your coaching grist here. So you'll briefly say, okay, imagine you're my coachee and you say, yeah, what am I supposed to write about? There are no real wins. I had this and this and this data this year. And then you just start. You're going to go 7 minutes on that, doing your absolute best as a coach. Then we're going to interrupt and we're going to switch partners and switch to scenario number 2. So that new partner will give some context to allow for scenario number 2. Questions about any of this before we start?
Sorry, as
Yeah.
the coach, am I giving the person the context that I want them to pretend to be, or is
Correct.
that okay?
Yeah. So coach is the complete is probably going to be doing 99% of the talking throughout this, or 99% of the directing throughout this. Yeah. That scenario. Okay. Other questions?
Then how long do you want the breakout for?
7 each. So let's say 15 total. Great.
I just want to say, Angel, you're going to be up first, whatever room you're in.
Yeah,
That's
it's
letter
true.
A there.
Sure, this was all designed to put Angel on the spot first.
I'm
Because we
Angel.
knew she could do it.
I'm
Mhm.
usually first
You
because
usually volunteer to be first.
Well, as
You know?
Sarah stunts,
Not an
I'm
accident.
definitely going to be scenario 2. I was just like, got it. Understood.
I'm used to it.
I'm with you, Angel, just on the opposite end.
Great. All right.
Ready?
Yeah, let's dive in. I do have a high res photo, but it's
Okay, good.
I think I don't know if it works. I'll send it to you.
I don't know if they asked you to do one for Lift All Boats too, but they're putting stuff together. So
As you might imagine, any official sounding email from Cambiar, I forward immediately to
I figured.
yeah.
I figured. Yeah, I should have just reached out to Aiden and be like, whatever you did for Ben for lab, they want a quote too. Like, what is a quote of a thing you say? I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more of a struggle. Well, no, actually, the picture is always more of a struggle than that one.
Picture. I have a quote. It's like you don't just have something that you're like, well, like I
Yeah,
always say. So
All
yeah.
right, I'm gonna dive in here.
Okay, sounds good. I'll do a switch notice at
Yeah.
14 or at 7.
Yeah, no,
Seven and a half?
at 7.5.
Seven and a half.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Yep.
you.
JB's not feeling well today, so
Do that. We hired like a third-party person to look at our videos, help name them for us. So, this is going to be a two-parter for this one slide. So you will spend 90 seconds solo, then let's say 5 minutes together, and then we're going to come back and you're going to load these into either a chat or a collaboration board that we have. Okay, let's move into partners. Your job in the next 5 minutes is for each of you to come up with a solid choice for 1, 2, and especially 3. If I expect most of you to need some help and coaching on getting to number 3. You've just experienced each other as coaches, so that'll give you some fresh thought partnership. Let's take 5 minutes total for each of you to go, so you manage that time on your own.
And hey, Lizzie, I'll get you caught up in the main room.
thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Right. So this will be a variation on how we usually spotlight people at the end. You can volunteer yourself or volunteer somebody else to show us your number 3 here. And so we'd like you actually to just tell us a little bit about it, quick headline on what it is, and then to show us a quick example of it. If you have named it as excellently as we have named the other coaching habits, feel free to share that with us as well. But if you don't have a name for it yet, I recommend others contributing names in the chat while it's being demonstrated. And the final slide after this one will be a collab board where you actually enter the name and describe it to people. So that's where we're heading next. Okay, who's going first? Okay. Go ahead. Emma, yeah.
Great. The name for this is called it's just going to be called Be the Model right now, or be or model the bright spot. The quick reflection on this I was having is, one, I'm not very good about talking about myself. So the thing I said was, in my head, I was like, what do I do with teachers and people that I interact with constantly, and how do they grow as fast as possible? And is there anything missing from the way that I also coach in these ways? And the thing I got to for this is the feeling that you have when you're in a school building and you are coaching somebody on it, and the level of intensity and urgency in which you check in with them, model it for them, bright spot things for them much more than like a month to month cadence. And so the thing I was thinking about is I think I tend to, when leaders reveal a thing that they are really struggling with, go into like meta modeling mode and then do that at like 700 times the like speed and capacity for it. So like the tone in my emails shifts. I text them more often. I say like, hey, I'm going to model this quick thing for you. And then like immediately you're going to try it. And then I'm going to see you do this thing, the next thing. So for example, this year, thanks Nima for telling me to gotta move forward on this. Sorry. So good at talking about myself. Anyways, but the example of this was Libby was sharing during her spring success cycle this year. I am feeling frustrated. My team has a quick 2-week sprint. They know they're off track and I am seeing no changes in their behavior. So then I said to her, I was like, have you changed your behavior? And she was like, no. And then I said, hey, guess what? I need to change my behavior because you need to change your behavior to this thing. Yeah.
Can we see this live?
Yeah, great.
Can somebody be Libby in this situation and pretty much do exactly what you just described there, Emma? But I think it matters. People see how you do it in the midst of a conversation, especially if it seems in any way sort of like spicy.
Yeah.
So
I'm doing the thing right now that's suggestions beat stories. That's not helpful. Okay, great. Cool. Let's replace Angel. Can you be Libby?
Yep.
Sweet. Libby, a reflection that I'm having, I don't know if this is spicy though. I'm just doing it. Whatever. Libby, a reflection that I'm having is you're feeling frustrated. You have control over your own actions towards that frustration. And you said to yourself, oh Lord, you said you said to yourself, like, I'm also feeling frustrated because I don't know what the model looks like. So here's the thing. I'm going to be your model. For the rest of this meeting, you're going to feel like an incredibly intense modeling for me on how and should this could feel with your team in all of your daily interactions. It's going to feel like so much more intense. At the end of this, I want us to be able to actually name all of the things that I did in addition so that you can clarify what are some actions that you are going to take in order to drive this.
Okay. Should I keep a list?
Sure.
Great.
Then can I add one more, Ben? I was going to say, like, at the end of that, I will also say, like, this level of urgency doesn't stop now. In the same way that you very, very rarely have touch points with your team, I'm going to amp up my touch points between now and when we see each other in 2 weeks. And I'm going to ask you to like be as accountable to those things in the way that I would model with a teacher. We're going to do the same thing here. And then in 2 weeks, you can tell me how that felt and what's changed about your own practice. Scene.
So great. Yeah, I am much improved for having heard that. Thank you. Who's next? Volunteer yourself or somebody volunteer you? All right, Jamie.
Yeah, Karen and I was about to volunteer Karen, but one of the things that I talked about was I feel like this is the valor in me of 13 years. Just whenever somebody tells me like what's going wrong or the challenge that they're facing, is always just like taking the minute to like, let me make sure I'm capturing this all correctly. What I heard you say is like X, Y, and Z. As a way, I think the benefits of it are like, one, it's like validating and helps the person feel heard and seen, but also helps ensure that I'm super clear on what the challenge is. I'm not putting my own interpretation of it before we then get into whatever the like next habit I'm going to use is.
Do you have a name for it?
Voice back and validate. I don't know.
Okay.
Is that
cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
The
if others,
valor, there you go.
yeah, nice.
Yep.
Great. Okay, who's gonna work this with you?
Karen, you want to be my partner again?
Sure.
All right. Join me in the spotlight here. All right. Karen, what's going on? What's keeping you up at night?
So I know we talked a little bit about the success story last time we met. I'm not feeling great about where we are with that. So last time you talked about like a headline and really capturing the successes, but I don't really feel like I have any of those yet. And quite frankly, that's keeping me up.
Okay, so let me, before I help you think through it a little bit, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. So, what's keeping you up at night right now is really this idea of the success story. And then as you're looking across the year, you feel like there's not much that you can point to as far as successes, and that's leaving you feeling a little stumped as far as like how to move that forward. Am I capturing that correctly?
Yes, you are. Thank you. That's how I'm feeling.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know that's a hard feeling.
Right.
Yeah, team.
Great. Phenomenal. And what I like is that it offers you an opportunity to like even maybe help simplify or disaggregate the issues that they're talking about, right? So you're kind of doing like a 2.0 on what they've described, not just a talk back. That
Mhm.
helps advance the conversation towards like actual actions. So I love that. Uh, do we want to do two of you again with Karen's? You were going to
Yeah,
volunteer.
I think Karen and I were talking about, because I've been actually working on like a similar thing with our principals at Valor, and so I think it's like a really powerful move. But
Great.
I'll let you explain it, Karen. It's your move.
So, so working with Central Falls right now, one of the things that tends to happen is they tend to want to complain sometimes about something that they don't own or that they don't have that ownership of, when they want to derail the coaching session with that. So oftentimes when I feel like we're getting to that point where it keeps coming back to, for example, the high school isn't doing, the high school isn't doing, the high school isn't doing. I use the move really with getting concrete and finding the solutions combination. I say, okay, just I want you to humor me for just a minute. We're going to pause. I'm putting a new law down. We're not allowed to complain about the high school anymore, not at all in the session. And if that were to be true, what are the three leadership moves you're going to do right now to impact that? They were like, oh, I would do this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, let's start. So I've
Great.
been doing that several times, and now we don't talk about it anymore.
Phenomenal. All right, let's just see it really quickly. Live action. Can you set Jamie up to
Sure.
say something?
So, hey, Jamie, how you doing today?
Same old, that high school, they're just grinding my gears. We can't get them to, you know, get in the boat and get the work moving forward. And so I think I'm like perpetually feeling stuck with that.
Yeah, I hear you on that, and I can't imagine how frustrating that can be, but I want you to humor me for just a moment. Ready? There's a new law in this coaching session, and we are not going to complain about the high school anymore. Not at all. So I want you to name, let's just say two leadership moves right now that you're going to do. So the high school is not in the room. What are two leadership moves you're going to name?
Great. Awesome. Um, so great. It's in a way a variation on the get concrete, but by subtraction. And and I also just thought like, oh, I I can also picture some people being hesitant to like be this bold. And number one, I think you shouldn't be. I think your relationships with your coachees like easily permit this. But if you're ever a little worried about that, I think you could just say something like, let's try an experiment for this one session, and you tell me afterwards how it goes. The experiment is this. We don't get to complain about the high school for this session. I will set a timer and ask you if you think that was a good thing or a bad thing by the end. Fantastic. Let's do one more. Who's it going to be?
Stems can do hers. It's a
Yeah,
good one.
great.
Thanks, Nima. Mine is that we were talking about is I try to notice when someone is doing or saying something, not the traffic cone, when someone is doing or saying something that is different than what they did or said before, and like pause and reflect that back to them to just like notice growth. Yeah.
Like it. You don't have a name for it yet, though.
I was like, we were tossing around names. The retroactive mirror, it's like holding up a mirror to somebody, but it's like going back in time, reminding
Got it.
them of something that they used to do that they don't do anymore.
Rear view mirror.
Oh, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
Cool. All right.
Rear view
Cool. And
mirror.
I'll put a prompt in case anybody has other ideas there. Okay. Show us.
All right, Nima, you gonna
Great.
join me?
Mm-hmm.
Great. But it's mostly I'm just gonna talk at you. Okay, so Nima, I want to pause here for just a second because you were just talking about all the different people who you are leveraging, and I'm jumping back in time to October when, do you remember this, when you told me you were the only one who could possibly do this work?
Mm-hmm. I
And now
remember.
it's June, and
Tired.
it's just
Mhm.
totally, and you're just like, that's not even a thought in your head. What changed for you? Like, how did you get from there to here?
Mm.
Beautiful. So this is one of my favorite things of all time to see, because what you're effectively doing is creating a new identity with somebody around their slope. And what you're doing is by choosing to go back to a point where that slope is more obvious, you are completely in control of how they set their identity against that. Right? So you could choose, for example, to go back 5 years if you knew this person back then. And then that slope's going to seem more dramatic, and then their identity is going to be even more powerful. Right. So I just think that's just a phenomenal thing to think about when we're talking to somebody. And like, that's where I'd want to have a post-it that reminds me to do that, because that's always an option at any point. Phenomenal. Okay. So you are now, for our benefit, going to collect these in a collab board. So I'd like you in this one to name your move and tell us what you believe its basic components or sort of protocol is. And so we're going to take, they say, 2.5 minutes. Everybody put that in there. So we can collect these and follow up with these, especially those who didn't get to demo theirs today.
And if you did, I just want to remind you, there are a lot of good name options in the chat that folks have
Mhm.
nominated for you. So I'm excited to see which one you pick.
And as I mentioned before, like, any transcript of this being put into an LLM could probably give us quite a few more.
Very true.
Don't need those third-party consultants anymore.
To this is making me so happy. So happy.
Yeah. Mm. Okay, we're officially 1 minute over my time. Jess, I'll leave it to you how you want to give time for this if some folks haven't gone yet. But just telling you that this is this particular moment right now is one of the greatest joys I've had in this experience with you. So thank you for that. I feel really edified and excited about it. Thanks.
Yeah. And thanks, Ben, for closing us out in C5 coach community.
There you go.
No, just echoing what Ben said, this was like really awesome. And we were excited to plan this and to see what came out of it. And I feel like it exceeded expectations, as this community always does. So thank you so much. So once you have dropped your unique coaching move in the, good Lord, words, what's it called? Collaboration board. Go ahead and we're going to hop on a 10-minute break, and we're going to come back at the 22, whatever time you are in. So we'll see y'all at the 22. And Lindsay, if you could put me and Ben for leaning into something a little different and new today, and really making us all better. So we are excited to, I know Stacy's haircut is it. I kept thinking, is this a new haircut or have you had this? But I like it. It's cute, like short hair, and it's giving with the overalls. It's like very summer. Okay. Awesome. Well, we're going to dive into the second half, and I'm excited to get into both some data with you all and have some time to think about how do we apply the moves that we just reflected on in practice to our closeout with our leaders this month in June, which is crazy that it's happening. So, reminder of our big goals, just always grounding ourselves in these. We want 75% of our leaders to either shrink a differential or build a more equitable ecosystem if they are a district or a network leader. And we want 75% of our leaders to codify a success story that we can leverage for proof points as we are building our movement and demonstrating what is possible for all kids across this country. And so that leaders have a tool that they can leverage going into next year as they frame for their teams what they've accomplished and what's possible going into year 2. So with those goals in mind, in May, our priorities for coaching, we're not going to spend a ton of time here because they haven't really shifted. We've been driving at spring success cycle outcomes. How do we monitor and problem solve around those? And how do we help folks draft a success story to codify their journey? So to help us kind of round up a little bit before we plan for coaching and have a little bit more time for some practice, I would love to ask this group to help us ensure that we've got the most accurate data on every leader's closeout. And I want to say, we've got this data point or some of them in a couple of different places, but we also know that things have shifted. Even as recently as like 2 weeks ago, Rosie was like, we've revamped Dan's plan to make it stronger. And so we know things have continued to shift and we want to make sure we have the most accurate info. So if you click on the link that's in the Nearpod, it should open up to the tab that we are going to take a quick moment to update in the dashboard. It's titled Coach C5 SSC Milestones and Artifacts. Links also in the chat if you need it. And what we would love for you to do is to just give us whatever updates you can in columns G through L. So what was their goal? In column G, you can just copy it over. You can either from their dashboard, which is linked in their row, or from wherever you all have written it down. Sorry, I don't know who's calling me, but I'm going to need them to not do that. Thank you. Then if you could help us with a drop down of what is the goal category. So was it focused on math, literacy, or SEL or other? Column I is going to be, are they going after a differential or an ecosystem? And then if you have any info for J and K yet, great, you can add it. If you don't, we know that that might be coming. But if you could also add their link to their success story, if you've got that link somewhere, just add that in column L for us. So going to give everybody a couple of minutes. We're looking at columns G through L. And feel free to just come off mute if you have any clarifying questions before we dive in here. Cool. All right, I'll give us the next around 4-ish minutes. If we finish early, we'll move on. But just to update that for our leaders.
I'm sorry, I came back and missed all the directions.
No, you're totally fine. Happy to see you again. In the artifact dash, which will drop for you, it's in the Nearpod, but we'll also drop it for you. Lindsay did in the chat. We're updating columns G through L on the tab that says Coach C5 SSC Milestones and Artifacts, just so that we're sure we've got the most up-to-date info, as we know some stuff continues to shift for leaders. Great, great, great. Thanks, Emma. Awesome. So I'm going to move us ahead thank you so much for helping us get that cleaned up. That's going to be really helpful as we go into closeout calls and just thinking about how we wrap up the cohort data overall. This is just a quick reminder. As you are doing your closeout this month in June, in their spring dashboard, just making sure that you've got that box checked off for that the meeting happened. Sometimes I forget those, and then that just skews our coaching data. So or our attendance data. Just give that a once over as you're closing out, just to make sure that we've got all of that codified. I know for one, I'm like now doing some makeup sessions. So I'm like randomly putting notes back up in another column with a June date. All good. Just make sure the box is checked off. That's the biggest thing. Amazing. So we are going to dive into preparing for June coaching and closeout. So our priorities for June are on this slide. I'm going to give everybody a moment to just read those. And so keep on keeping on from May in terms of our success story and in terms of getting our spring success cycle closed out. But the other big piece that we want to ensure we are incorporating as we started thinking about it, even in our first breakout room today, is like, what assets do we want to hold the mirror up for our leader to see? And how do we really affirm their identity in a way that sets them up for success going into year 2? I don't remember what we were talking about in session, but this idea that year 2 can be harder than year 1, and how do we use this time to get leaders prepared for that and really remind them they have the tools. They are ready, they are the right ones, and get them ready for what's coming at them next year. And so in thinking about that, right, we want our leaders to close out feeling proud and grounded. Like, here's what I set out to do this year. Here's what I accomplished. Here's what I'm going to do next. And my coach believes I'm a strong AMA leader because fill in the blank, all of the things that we see. We know that this is about progress over perfection, but we have a really incredible opportunity as coaches to be the ones that remind leaders of this. Like, I remember being a leader in AMA and being like, this is the only space where I feel like I'm doing a good job at anything. Like, every other space I'm in, I kind of mostly feel like people are just pointing out all the things that have gone to SHIT. And this is the one place where I get reminded that there's like things I'm doing well. And so we get to be those people for our people. And so this is the essence. We're going to talk a lot about like logistics and ticky-tacky things for closeout, but more important than any of that is keeping at the center, how do we really affirm our leaders? And how do we as their coaches get to create that space for them that they're not getting other places. And so ways that we're going to do this, we are going to review their leading and lagging data related to spring success cycle. Some folks are going to have that data before the end of June. Some folks are not. But it's like, if they don't have the lagging data, i.e. state test results, really try to dig into what is the leading indicator we do have. Maybe that's MAP results. Maybe that's an IA. Maybe it is iReady. Fill in the blank. There's thousands of data points folks are collecting at the end of the year. And the more that we can ground them in those, the better they are going to be set up to set goals for next year and have a good idea of where am I actually ending the year, right? Because they can get really firmly grounded in what the data currently says. And sometimes leaders forget that. It's like, oh, well, I won't know till August where we are, and I can't think about goals till then. Nope, we can. We're going to finalize their success story and codify their journey. If they're principals, which this only applies to a handful of us, and I sent y'all a text this morning, we have the addition of the staff survey data that we can incorporate both in their success story and as they're thinking about orientation and goals for next year. And then the last technical thing we're going to do in June is to prepare them for their summer closeout call, where we clarify when they're going to get end of year data, And there's a survey, a closeout survey that we want to make sure that every leader is able to complete. Only the folks that were at impact ceremony till the very end have already completed it. So we're really relying on coaches to help us get it across the finish line for everybody else. And so you'll get that link as well to ensure that you can share that with your leaders. So with both the spirit that we want to carry into June and married that with like the technical logistics, we're going to take a little bit of time to just prepare our agendas for June coaching, right? And we're putting ourselves in the space of like your leader closes out, they're confident, they've identified bright spots, they know what they're focusing on next year-ish. We know that develops. They've got a success story they're proud of. They're encouraged and affirmed, right? That's how all of our leaders are going to end their experience. And so now's our time to plan what we're going to do to get them there. So we'll take the next 5 minutes to just get in our leaders' documents, in our own agendas, think about what we need to do, and spend some time preparing. Then we're going to have one more opportunity to practice with a partner, just picking one part of your June closeout. Maybe that is practicing holding up the mirror for their assets and stamping what you want them to remember. Maybe that is digging into their data because you know that that part's potentially going to be hard. You get to decide what part of your June closeout you want to practice with a partner, and we'll do that after we have some time to plan out our agendas. Yes, ma'am.
Are y'all having a closeout call with them again? Do we prep them for that or no? Like it's the AMA internal team?
Yeah, we will. And the closeout survey is the biggest thing that you all will do to help us prep for that, because that tells us when they're getting their data and when we can
So it says
schedule.
it in this, it says it in the survey.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it does. Thank you for clarifying that. Awesome, y'all. So we're going to take the next 5 minutes to just get your heads wrapped around your own planning and then identify one thing you want to practice for your June closeout, and we will have an opportunity to do that in 5 minutes. So feel free to go off camera. We'll come back at the Lord live math 44 year to shift into breakout rooms again. And in this breakout room, give your partner context for what is the part of June closeout that you want to practice and what you're aiming for, right? I want to practice my affirmation of identity and I want to ensure they walk away knowing XYZ or whatever the part is. So let them know what you're aiming for, what your ideal is, and what you're going to coach into, any context they need. And then we'll dive into some quick practice. So we'll have about 4 minutes each of practice. So we're going to have 8 minutes in rooms. So we'll do a quick voiceover to just let you know when to switch partners. So we're going to have 8 minutes total in the rooms, 4 minutes each. And Lizzie, whenever you're ready, you can swoop us.
Sure. So my computer's really laggy, but can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So, she was telling me how her person like set a goal for 4% increase and then has been like not wanting to write a success story because he only improved by 3%, and how she really wants to like affirm for him like that's still like incredible progress. And then she's still going to get him to write a success story. And I just like the way she did it was really good. She's been like essentially sneakily having him like write the success story without calling it a success story. And I just loved the way she talked about it.
Show us, Angel.
Okay, great. So, over our past couple of coaching sessions, I've been having him do the different pieces of the success story. So, I had him like list out all of the different moves that he'd made. I had him list out all of the hard spots. Like in one of our coaching sessions, I had him list out all of the things that he's learned, because he is really hesitant and doesn't think that, excuse me, he doesn't think that he has done anything that is like truly like life changing or like aspirational. And so this is what I want to say to him to like shift that mindset for him and like build this identity for him. So, Delgado, your data right now is your goal was to decrease the ADA chronic absentee by 4%. Right now, without your final data coming in for the whole school year, you guys are still in school. Right now, you are at reducing it by 3%. That in itself is huge. And I want you to know like how big that is in terms of kids, because that is why you do your work. So I did the math for you, and that is about 75 students who are attending school regularly this year that did not attend school regularly last year. That is 75 students who are coming to school, who are getting the services that they need so that they can graduate, so that they can go to college, so that they can make the changes in the community that they want to make, so that they could reach the mission and the vision of your school, the vision that you set for them, the vision that they set for themselves. This is why we do the work. This is why you show up and do the work every day. That is 75 lives that you have changed. That is why you're writing your success story for those 75 kids, so that next year you have something to reference so that your team could go back. You guys can look at this, say, like, we're going to do those same things again. And next year, it's going to be a different 80 kids. Next year, it might be 100 kids. That's why you're going to write the success story, so that this number keeps growing. It's not about the percentage, it's about the kids.
Woo! Mic drop. Thank you so much for that nomination, Lizzie, and thank you, Angel. What a move.
Delgado really hates percentages. And like, I don't think he relates to them at all, but he loves the kids. Like every time we meet, he's like, look at this picture. And he like shows me some child. It's like that's what he cares about. And so
Yeah.
that's why like, yeah, the numbers don't really matter. Like that's what he connects to. So like that's what I'm gonna connect it to. That was my Velcro move.
Yes, there it is. And what are just, again, I said this at the launch when folks were sharing about their leaders. There's just such a testament to the work y'all have done to leverage relationships and get to know your leaders and think about how does this individual leader's context, what drives them, inform my coaching, inform the way I'm approaching it. So thank you for modeling both how we should be doing that and a way to help folks see the humans in the data. Yeah, thank you for that, Angel. Awesome. I'm really excited going into June closeout now to steal all of these moves from you all. Amazing. So looking ahead, and this is what Stacy was kind of referring to earlier. There's two closeouts that are going to happen for leaders. One is the closeout with you. That's in June. They're finalizing their spring success cycle, their success story, say that 5 times fast, reflecting on their end of year data, staff survey if they get it. One thing to just plug and make sure, please make sure we have access to their success stories. Sometimes they only share it with you, and then we get in and are like requesting access from somebody's IT department. So please double check that with them so that we can make sure that we can access to. And you are building their identity, clarifying their next steps in building the movement as they become alumni. Then in the months of July to September, they're going to do a closeout with us, and you all are reminding them of this. We told them in impact ceremony, we've communicated in email, but like it's also a chance to have remind them that we will be reaching out to set up a call based on their closeout survey. So that's linked here. It'll also be in my follow-up email to you all. They have an opportunity to tell us, this is when I'm going to get my data. This is when it makes sense to have a closeout call. We'll set that up. and then we'll go through their final data. This is internally for us, this is how we collect the data to really say, yes, we met our programmatic goals, or no, we didn't hit our programmatic goals, is in these closeout calls. And so it's really important that we get those set up for folks. And then we'll ask them for feedback on their overall AMA experience, and make sure that they're connected with all the alumni resources and support. And so you're kind of owning the June closeout, teeing them up for this July to September. It's a large window because we know there's various times people are going to get their data. And so that is what is coming ahead. With any questions about closeout, either the one you're kind of spearheading or the July call. Cool. Last thing on a kind of technical end, once you wrap your final coaching session with your leaders in June, you're going to send them a coaching closeout. I put by 6:30 because that's technically the end of the month. I realize if you have your last coaching call that week, our goal is that we do these within a week of that last closing call. So I realize that we may not get some of these closeout emails sent until that first week in July when folks are back from break for July 4th. That's okay. But again, you're wrapping up coaching by the 30th, and then you're sending this closeout email, ideally within a week of that final coaching session. In it, you're summarizing your assets and your affirmations, stamping any priorities, linking their success story, any data highlights that you want to call to the surface for them. This is a good time to do it. And then you'll share bullets on their AMA program closeout so they know what's coming. I'm going to put an example of one of these emails in our follow-up from Coach Community, so you'll get to see what this looks like and can borrow language if it's helpful. But again, our goal is that, this will be in the follow-up email too. Yep, Jonathan, so you'll get that. And our goal is just we use this to, it lets us know that like coaching is officially wrapped for that person, and it helps us when we go into their closeout call to kind of see how you've left things with them. So you'll CC me on it, again, within a week of your final coaching session. And the example will be coming in the MailChimp for you. And so looking ahead, boom, we're at the end here. We are really chasing these last few weeks of shrinking a differential and authoring a success story with our leaders. For them in June and July, this is what we have shared that their priorities are. It's closing out with you, and then it's closing out with us. So there's not so crazy to think of all that we've been through with these leaders, and it's come to an end. And so looking ahead in terms of coach community and coach training for cohort 6, I know in last month's coach survey, folks gave me an idea of like, yes, I want to continue, or things are shifting for me next year and I might need to talk to you about what my schedule looks like. So I'm going to be following up with individuals. And if you have questions specifically about coach community next year, also reach out directly to me. But our training dates are set for summer. And so just a reminder that there's 2. One is the 5 habits training. This is open to all coaches, especially if you were not able to participate in one last year or in a previous year. But it is only required for our new apprentice coaches. And again, people who were not able to previously attend. So everybody's welcome to join, but not required unless you're new or you haven't done it yet. And it's really the opportunity to deep dive into each of the 5 habits discreetly and practice the skill. And then there's the C6 coaching launch, which is going to be happening on July 16th. This is for everybody. And this is where we'll dive into like, yes, this is the new like coach community. We'll welcome all of our apprentice coaches into the larger coach community for the year. And we will just kind of launch the season together, cover everything from coaching assignments to logistics to time to prepare for your agendas, and do some practice around that for launching in August. So know that these dates are hot off the presses, locked in. You will be getting outreach from me again if you've not been able to fully confirm for next year, or if you've indicated you've got questions. I'll be reaching out directly. And again, reach out directly to me if you've got questions before those training dates. And now we're closing. And we'll begin our closing with gratitude. Would love in this small but mighty ending crew to have some folks put gratitude in the space. So feel free to boldly unmute. You can drop it in the chat, but would love to hear some voices as we close out our time. Yes, good riddance, or the like, what's the sad Green Day high school song? Time of Our Lives.
That is Time of Our Lives.
That is okay. It's the same thing. Okay,
Yeah.
very good, very good. I was like, good riddance. I feel kind of sad about that part. Yes, same song. Brain match. Oh yeah, vitamin C. Thanks for kicking us off, Stunts. Yes. Karen's Law.
Again, laggy, but I just wanted to say like how much I loved being here this year and how much I feel like I like learned from all of the coaches that have been doing this for many years. So yeah, I just wanted to say that like I loved coming and I feel like it made me better as a coach and also just better like in my day-to-day job. So yeah.
Thanks, Lizzie. Yeah. So glad you're part of coach community. Absolutely. Yeah, I see more love in the chat, so make sure that you check that out. Some love for Karen and Lizzie and Emma and Stunts and Lizzie and Gooter and Angel, all of the people. And I just appreciate all of you. This is such an uplifting and affirming space for me, and I feel like I get better every time that I learn from you all. And you just bring so much humor, which I love because I love to laugh and I feel like I get to do a lot in this space, and candor, and just you really model what it is to keep humans at the center of the work, and stay grounded in their assets even when things are hard. And so I really appreciate you all building the world we want to see with us in here every day. So thank you, thank you. 2 reminders. Alumni coaching. As you're closing out with your people in June, remind them that this is an option. We are aiming this year to increase our alumni coaching to 20 leaders. We are about halfway there right now. So we want to get at least 9 more leaders across the finish line for alumni coaching. So if you've got questions about it, or if your leader has questions about it, definitely reach out to me. But reminder to plug this for them. In addition to the new offering that we're excited about, which is open to our whole alumni community, including you all, as the opportunity for specialized coaching in talent and finance. So for people who are really looking to rework their hiring systems or their finance, or they're going after a big new program like AF Rhode Island, and they're like, we got to build out a whole lot of things over here. This is a great opportunity to work with Soraya and Davis, 2 really incredible experts in their fields, and AMA leaders. So reach out if you've got questions. And again, if you think your leader would be a good fit for this, remind them that this is an option. You've got all the tools from today in your consolidated links. You've already got access to the dashboard, and thank you again for updating that for us today. Our video from today and from last month will be uploaded on the Coaches Hub, and you'll have all of the resources there from the previous months. And just a reminder that in the survey that we're about to dive into, there is a space for executive sponsor updates. These, again, have been incredibly helpful all year, but will be as we close out with executive sponsors as well. So thank you in advance for taking some time to share those notes. And with that, we're going to go ahead and dive in and give you some time on the feedback form so that you can get that taken care of. And our fearless leader, Lindsay, might close us out with some tunes.
This is for you, Jonathan.
Yes. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No.
Oh.
I was thinking you could hear it and we couldn't.
The way she was smiling, and I just also have to say
You still can't hear it?
a quick plug.
All right, hold on.
And this is why AMA needs an operations assistant role that you all have.
There you go.
Can you hear it now?
Yeah.
Okay. That would have been really smooth if I'd done that.
I hope you had the time of your life.